Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we are going to be looking at 20 different games, and these are going to be very simple games that you can teach in a matter of a minute or sometimes even less. And this list is particularly helpful for those people who are looking for simple games to teach people that aren't in the hobby, have never really played any games, but they see the games that we play in this hobby and they're very intimidated. And this can be an intimidating hobby, especially you people come by and they see these big box games, they see these rule books that are 20, 30, 40, 50 pages long, even in some cases, and they're intimidated and they're like, I can't play these games. And you're like, no, it's really not that bad. But these games are these simple games. They're smaller games. They're filler games. They only last, most of these only last 15 minutes to 45 minutes for most of these. So yeah, they're good games in that. These are games that I like to show, friends, family, and even my parents who they don't like those bigger complex games. But these are also games that I really enjoy. A person that is deep into the hobby that likes bigger complex games, but I also like smaller filler games that are easy to teach people. These are fun games to break out in that situation. But these are, yeah, these games that you want to show people that are kind of intimidated, and they're nervous about entering this hobby because they think they're too dumb, which absolutely is not the case. You don't have to be an Einstein to play, big games, but these are ones that can introduce people, ease their nerves a little bit about coming into this hobby. And I've this situation has happened many times where I want to show people games, but they're kind of nervous about it. So yeah, these are good games for those type of situations, or for your regular game nights as well. So let's just get right into it. And I didn't order these in like my favorites or anything like that. They're just 20 simple games that I really like that you should show some people. First game on this list is Cabo. Cabo is this memory type card game, and I'm not a really big memory person. I have a horrible memory. I can't remember anything ever. But this is a little memory card game. Each player is going to get 4 cards in front of them face down. These cards are going to be numbered. You can look at 2 of your cards, and you put them back face down, and you can't look at them again. On your turn, you're going to take a card from this deck that is in the middle of the table, look at it, and you're going to decide either to replace one of your cards that are face down or to just discard it. And sometimes if you discard it, you get to use an ability. Some abilities are like peek at one of your cards, or look at another person's one of their cards, or swap one of your cards with another person's cards. Then you can also, on your turn, just do nothing and say Cabo, which passes your turn, and it will end the round once all the other players get a turn. And at the end, you will flip over your cards and see who's got the least amount of points. If the person who called Cabo has the least amount of points, they'll get 0 points for this game, for this round. You want little points in this game. Everybody else gets the points that is on their cards. Usually typical rounds like 20 points or something like that. There's some less usually. But if you did call Cabo and you don't have the least amount of points, you get an added plus 10. As soon as a player reaches over 100 points throughout the rounds, the game is over. The player who's got the least amount of points wins the game. Fun little card game. Fun little memory card game. I really like that. Going to our next game. Our next game is a bit of a classic. It's a little older game. This is Sushi Go. Sushi Go is this set collection drafting game. You're going to get this hand of cards. You are going to pick one of these cards, which depicts food, sushi usually, and you're going to pick one of those cards, place it face down, pass the rest of the cards. You're going to get the hand of cards from the other player. You're going to pick one and pass it. Keep going until you've used up all the cards. Then you're going to get points, and the points are depicted on the cards actually. Like these one cards will say if you get 3 of these, it'll be worth 10 points. If you don't have 3 of them, it's not worth any points. Some cards will say you'll get more and more points as you get more of those cards. But it shows very clearly on the cards how many points they're worth. You're going to play 3 rounds of that, counting up your points each time. At the end of 3 rounds, you count up all the points from all 3 rounds, and the person who's got the most wins. Very fun game, very simple game. I really like this, and a lot of my group likes this. This is one that gets played pretty regularly. Going to number 3. Number 3 had a little bit of hype for a while. It is a flip and write game. This is Silver and Gold. you are going to get 2 treasure cards in front of you. And these treasure cards are basically, well, they're like map cards, I think they're called, and it's going to have empty spaces in them. We are going to flip over cards, and that card is going to have a shape on it. And you are going to cross off that shape onto your treasure cards. You're going to try and mark off all your treasure cards. If you mark off all the shapes or the squares on your treasure card, you get to take a new card. At the end of I think it's 4 rounds, you're going to add up all the points from your completed treasure map cards that you have, and the points are on the top card of the portion of the card, and the person who's got the most points wins. It's a fun little game. It's a polyomino placing game, but if you're showing a brand new person in this hobby, do not say the word polyomino. That's my suggestion for that. But it's still one of my favorite flip and right games. Very simple game. Love it. Going to our next game. Next game, number 4, is Push. Push is a push your luck style game. On a player's turn, they are going to flip 1 card at a time from this deck of cards. And the cards have different numbers on them. I think it's 1 through 6 or whatever end up being, and different colors on them. You have 3 columns that you can place those cards in. But you cannot place a card that you flip onto a column that already has that number and that color. If you happen to flip over a card and you can't place that card anywhere, that means you bust. And the other players will end up getting cards from the cards that you busted with. And you won't get anything. You'll have to roll this dice, which will make you lose cards that you've obtained on previous turns. But yeah, fun game, simple game, one that I highly suggest. Yeah, well, I suggest all of these, actually. Next, number 5 is Timeline. Timeline is this game that's really good if you have friends who like educational stuff or kind of like trivia. But you are going to have each player is going to get a hand of cards dealt to them. And these cards will have different events on them. They'll be like, when did World War II end? Or when did Wilt Chamberlain get 100 points in a game? Stuff like that. Just different events that have happened throughout time. And you are going to have to place these cards in the correct order on this timeline that you have. Because on the back side of the card, it has when that event happened. So you're going to have these cards, say there's an event that happened in 1903, then there's an event that happened in 1955, and you have when did World War II end? So you'll put that in between those 2 cards, you'll flip it over, see when the event happened. If you are correct, that card will stay in that timeline to make this timeline bigger and bigger and bigger. If you were wrong, it has to be discarded and you grab a new card. Once the player has played all their cards, they win the game. Fun game, one that I suggest to show people that really like educational kind of stuff. And I do enjoy this game quite a bit. Going to the 6th game. The 6th game is Point Salad. Point Salad was a very popular game when it first came out. This is a drafting card set collection sort of game where there's going to be 3 columns of cards. 2 of those cards in the column are going to be vegetable cards. The card on the top is going to have a scoring condition. You are either going to take 2 vegetable cards, or you're going to take one of the cards on the top that has the scoring condition. And the scoring condition is like each carrot you have is worth 2 points, or each tomato you have is worth -1 point, but a cabbage is worth 3 points. Stuff like that. So you can either take the 2 vegetable cards or take a point card. If you take the vegetable cards, they are replaced from the scoring cards from up top. They get flipped down, and on the other side of the scoring cards are vegetable cards. So, and then you play until all the cards are gone. Fun little game, and you can play it in a matter of 20 minutes. You can teach it in a matter of 30 seconds. Great game. Going to our 7th game. Our 7th game is No Thanks. No Thanks is an older game by now. You are going to have a bunch of cards, a deck of cards that are numbered in the center of the table. On a player's turn, they are going to flip a card, and that card's, like I said, is going to have a number. You don't want to take very many cards, but you can either take the card that's in the center of the table, or you can say no thanks and take one of these black pips that you have and put it on that card. You put that on there, say no thanks. It goes to the next player. They can either take that card, which would get all the pips that are on there, plus the card, or they can say no thanks and put the pips on there. So that it's going to keep going around and around until one player takes that card, but they also get those pips. At the end of the game, when all the cards are gone, you get you get negative points, or you get points for the cards that are in front of you. You're going to get, if it's a 35 card, you're going to get 35 points. You don't want points. But you're going to get negative points for all the black pips that you have left. And also, if you can combine some cards. So if you have the 24 and 25, that 24 will actually go on top of the 25, and you won't get 25 points. You'll just have to do the 24. And you can get big runs of cards. So like you could have the 23, 24, 25, and 26, and you put all those cards on top of each other, and you only score that 23, minus whatever black pips you have. The person with the lowest points wins the game. Going to number 8, where are we at? 8 is The Mind. The Mind was very, very popular. It was a huge hype train when this first game came out. It's a little tiny card game that has the numbers 1 through 100 on these cards, and each round each player is going to be dealt however many cards the round is. So in the first round, each player gets 1 card. Second round, each player gets 2 cards. Third round, and so on and so forth. You are going to have to collectively, as a group, lay these cards down in ascending order, but you cannot talk with each other. And so you have these cards, and you're going to say, well, I got the 10. When should I lay that down? And maybe someone else has got like the 7. They're worried that someone's got a lower number. You have to do it in the correct order without talking. And so it makes for these hilarious, exciting moments in games. And that's what you want to show new people in this hobby. These funny, hilarious moments that are just a good time. So yeah, The Mind. I mean, some people don't seem to like it very much, but I think it's a great game to show new people. It kind of blows their mind. No pun intended. Going to the 9th game. The 9th game is Bandito. I just played this in my a couple videos ago. I showed me playing it. But Bandito is this cooperative game, but I prefer it solo. But you can play it cooperatively, where you are trying to block off this Bandito who's making these escape routes around this board. And you're going to be taking turns laying one of these tunnel cards onto these routes that this Bandito is making, trying to block him off. If you lay all these cards down and block off all his exits, you win the game. But a lot of times the exits just go everywhere, and he ends up escaping. Fun little game. Literally, it takes 10 seconds to teach this game. So that's great for that. Fun little cooperative game. Going to number 10. Number 10 is a game that I've talked about on here quite a bit because I play it with my son a lot. We haven't been playing it much, but we used to play it constantly. This is Dungeon Mayhem. Dungeon Mayhem is this card game where you're battling each other. You're trying to be the last player standing. Each player has 10 health to start the game, and on your turn you're going to draw a card and then play a card from your hand. And the actions on these cards are very simple. It's like hit another player, you can heal one, you could maybe draw some more cards, or you might have a card that lets you play another card as well. So it's a fun game that there's only like 3 or 4 symbols that you need to know. And yeah, then you just play until there's the last player standing, that player wins. Going to the 11th game, halfway done, we are going to talk about So Clover, which was just on my last reviews and ratings episode. And in So Clover, this is a party game. This is a word game. Each player is going to get a Clover board, this Clover board. Then each player is also going to get 4 of these cards that have words written on them, these square cards. And then you have to put them on your Clover board in a random order. And how these cards are set on these Clover boards will make that there are 2 words on each side of this Clover board, and you have to write a word that will make people think of the 2 words that are on that side of the Clover board. And you're going to have to write it on all 4 sides of this Clover board. And then after you get done with that, you take all those cards off, you add another 5th card, a random 5th card, and then you set it out onto the table for all the other players to see, and they have to put those cards back on top of the Clover board in the correct order and figure out which one was not even supposed to be in there at all. Fun little game. We don't really keep track of points at all when we play this game, but it's such a fun experience of a game. It's more of an activity than a game, actually. But it's a fun little word game. If you've got a friend who's likes word games, likes party games, this is one that I definitely recommend. Going to the 12th game. The 12th game This is another small little card game, which most of these are. This is Illusion. Illusion is a very interesting game where you have a deck of cards, and on this deck of cards is these illustrations, these random weird looking illustrations with a bunch of different colors on them. You are going to flip this other card that has a color on that. And now all these players will take turns drawing one of these illustration cards and trying to put it in ascending order of, if you draw a card that says red, you have to put all the red cards in ascending order from least amount of red to most amount of red. But these are weird illustrated cards where it's hard to decide what is actually the least amount, and you're going to have to keep doing that. So on a player's turn, they can either put a card down there or they can challenge it, which if you challenge it, you will flip over all the cards and it'll say the percentage of each of the colors on that card. And if it is correct, the player who played previously gets that color card, which will get points. If you guess correctly that it was in the wrong order, you'll get the color card, which will give you point. You play until someone has 3 of these point cards. Fun little game, very clever, innovative game. That's very simple. Going to 13. 13 is a very old game. This is Guillotine. Guillotine is this card game where you have all this line of these nobles, and at the end is this guillotine. Now, on your turn, you are going to play one of these action cards, and then you are going to take whichever noble is closest then to the guillotine, and the nobles are going to be worth different amounts of points. They could be worth up to 5 or 6 points for those really, really good ones, or they'll be worth negative points. You don't want some of these cards. But these action cards are very, very simple. They manipulate this line somehow. They take some cards and put them backwards, or they take one card and put it to the front. Different kinds of things, but it's very obvious. It's very easy to understand this game. Fun little game, like all of these. Going to number 14. Number 14 is Hey, That's My Fish. Hey, That's My Fish is this game where you have all these hexagonal tiles, and on these hexagon tiles are going to be these fish. You're going to put all these into this big board, and then you're going to put on these little cute penguins on here. This might be a kid's game, but I really enjoy it as well. But there's going to be these penguins, and on your turn, you are going to move one of your penguins of your color in a straight line on these tiles, and you're going to take the tile that your penguin was actually on before. And like I said, these tiles have fish on them, either 1 through 3 on them, and you're going to get the points from that tile. At the end of the game, you add up all the fish that are on the tiles that you have taken. Fun game. It's pretty strategic, actually, for how simple this game is. You're trying to move around these penguins, blocking off other players, cutting them off, and making their penguins actually fall into the water because they don't have anywhere else they can go anymore. So yeah, number 14, Hey, That's My Fish. Number 15 is a bluffing game, a very simple bluffing game. This is Cockroach Poker. In Cockroach Poker, each player is going to get a hand of cards, and these cards are different creatures. They can be bats, they can be rats, there's scorpions, cockroaches, there's stink bugs. Now on your turn, you are going to take one of your cards, slide it face down towards another player, and you are going to either lie or tell the truth. You're going to say, this is a cockroach, and they are going to try and decide whether you're telling the truth or lying to them. If they call you out and they say you're telling the truth and you were telling the truth, you actually get that card back to you, and you have to put that card face up in front of you. If they were wrong about whether you were lying or telling the truth, they get that card in front of themselves then. If you ever have 4 cards of the same creature type in front of yourself, you lose the game. All the other players win it. So this is a weird game because one player loses, everybody else wins. Fun game. A lot of laughter in this. Now we gotta look down the list. Going to number 16. We're almost there. Number 16 is Colt Super Express. Colt Super Express is the small, silly version of Colt Express. This is a card game version where there's going to be a train made out of these cards, and you are going to have these bandit meeple things that you're going to have to place your bandit meeple on this train. And you have this hand of cards where it'll have different actions. The actions are like move forward, move up, shoot. There's also like a little simple expansion that comes with it. that's like retaliate, shoot, and a horse, which will bring you to the front of the train. Very simple actions, though. But you are going to choose 3 of these cards before the round starts and put them down in an order that you want to play them in. And once you do that, you can't change the cards that you're playing. Then the round starts, and each player in turn will reveal their top card, and they'll do that action, like move up the train, shoot maybe the next person. And yeah, it just is a lot of fun. It's a lot of laughs. It's silly. You might jump off the train. If you get off the train, you are eliminated. And this is the last player standing wins this game. So you're going to be shooting people off. You might run yourself off the train. You don't really know, because just different things happen that you're not expecting to happen in this game. A lot of fun. Colt Super Express. Going to number 17. Going as fast as I can here. Number 17 is a very popular game. This is a 2-player only game that's very close to being chess. This is Onitama. Onitama, like I said, it's almost like chess, but you're going to play cards instead to move your little pawns and stuff in the game. So you're going to pick one of the 2 cards that's in front of you, and that will depict how you can move your pawns on the board. You play that card, move your pawn, and then that card goes into the middle between the 2 players. You take the card that was already previously in the middle, and you take that in there. So you're going to be constantly rotating these cards. You play a card, take a new card, and you're going to be getting the cards that the other person played. Fun little game. You are trying to either eliminate the master, the opponent's master, or put your master into their little home base area. That's how you win this game. Fun game, very strategic, very much like a chess-like game, but a very simple version of it. But it's got a lot of strategic value. Great game, simple one, beautiful looking one. So yeah, Onitama. Going to number 18. Number 18 is kind of a kid's game. It is a kid's game. This is Ice Cool. This is a flicking game, and another game that involves penguins for some reason. But you have these little penguin things, and then you also have this board that is made out of the box. Actually, you're going to put this box together, and there's going to be little doorways connecting all of these different boxes. You're going to be flicking that little penguin, and he's going to go you're trying to get your penguin through these hallways to collect the fish that's above that door. But there's also a hall monitor, because this is supposed to be a school. The hall monitor is trying to catch all these other little penguins that are running around collecting these fish. So he's trying to hit your penguin with his penguin, flicking his penguin into yours. And you're collecting these fish, like I said. Fun game, silly game. If you've got young kids, this is one I highly suggest letting them try out. This is a game that my kid and my nephew played a bunch of, even without me. They would set this up all the time, play it without me. So that's always a good sign. Going to our 19th game. 19 is Autonomy. Autonomy is another drafting game, and it's got a deck of cards numbered 1 through, I think it's 120. And there's going to be different colors of these numbers. There's going to be green cards, blue cards, pink cards, and cards with gray rock cards. On your turn, well, there's no turns because you're going to be drafting these cards simultaneously. So when you get your hand of cards, you're going to take 2 of these cards and place them in front of you. And you can place these cards in 3 different columns that you have available to you. You can take these cards, and you have to have them kind of in ascending order. And you can't place the cards that in between 2 cards that you've placed previously. So if you have a column and it's got a 6 card, and above that is a 26 card, you can no longer play cards between those cards in that particular column. You're going to be drafting these cards until no cards are remaining for that round, and then you're going to score. You're going to score 3 different rounds in this game, and each round, so the first round you're going to score all the blue cards. I'm not sure which colors are what right now. I can't quite remember. But you're going to score all the blue cards for that first round. The second round, you're going to score all the blue and green cards then. And then in the third round, you're going to score the blue, the green cards, and the pink and the rock cards as well. So you're going to score 3 different times, and each time you're going to add a little bit more to the scoring. Fun game, one that I've broken out quite a bit. Great game. Going to 20th game, and our last game we're talking about today. This is High Society. High Society is almost like this classic card game now, where players are going to be bidding on this card. So each player has a hand of money. Everybody's going to have the same amount of money to start the game. You're going to have denotions like 1, a 2, a 5, a 10, a 25, stuff like that. And we are going to flip over this big card in the center of the table, and that's the card that people are going to be bidding on. And the cards that we're bidding on are like 1 through 10, 1 through 9, 1 through 10. So if I'm the start player, I might bid like 2 for that 5 that's showing on that board. The next player has a chance to beat that or pass. It's going to keep going until someone has bid the most and everybody else has passed. That player will get the card, and then at the end of the game, the player who has the least amount of money left actually is eliminated from the game. They can't win the game. And then after that, the player who's got the most points will win. So you want to buy these cards cheaply. You want to get the cards, but you want to get them cheap. Fun little game, great game. And that is the last game we're talking about. These 20 very simple games that I highly recommend you showing people that are either intimidated from getting in this hobby, or just ones that if you want some filler games that are easy to teach for game nights. These are great options for that in either situation. But yes, that will complete this. Let me know in the comments below some really simple games that you enjoy teaching to all your friends and family. But either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. I hope you all have an amazing day. Take care, everyone.